think I finally got my webcam fixed. Kind of. Looks better than it did. Alright, we're going to start the stream off today. We are going to watch a YouTube video real quick. It is made by Big Boss. I have never watched this video before. And it's about Bethesda, which I saw this, this was recommended to me the other day. And I figured I'd watch it on stream because I thought it might be interesting to watch. Because Microsoft just bought Bethesda a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah.
The last few years have not been kind to Bethesda. It wasn't that long ago that they were being praised as one of the best developers in the industry. Fast forward a few years, and here we are. Players deceived, refunds denied, helmets moulding. First it was the paid mods, then the ungodly launch of Fallout 76.
Yeah, paid mods, that was definitely a huge misstep, especially with Steam being the way it is. It was just a weird idea.
Fans could not believe what they were seeing. Bethesda had fallen, but also the loss of one of the last decent game developers. It was a sad day.
One of the last decent game
They're
developers?
often remembered as.
I think there's plenty of good ones
They
still.
made some good games over the years, but the old Bethesda also had a big part in creating the modern microtransaction market. Dabbled out with some harsh treatment of a licensed company, indirectly causing 30-odd layoffs as a result, and a few indirectly causing 30-odd layoffs.
Wow. Interesting.
Something I'm sure you're all familiar with.
The sweet little lies.
It's no secret that game director Todd Howard has invested pretty heavily back to Oblivion, when in 2005, he told everyone that Oblivion's NPC AI was radiant and unscripted.
Let's take a look at the other side of the game, our new radiant
Unscripted?
AI. These NPCs are not scripted.
May you rest in peace.
1 year after Oblivion released, Bethesda purchased the rights to the Fallout IP, and Todd announced that Fallout 3 would have 200
Wow, I didn't realize that Bethesda didn't make the Fallout franchise. It's interesting that they bought the IP.
different endings.
As of last week, we're over
I feel like most people wouldn't know that.
200 endings. That is not an exaggeration.
In reality, there'd be 3. A few different ways.
200
and
endings,
lots of
dude,
slight
for
variation
a
with the
2008
ending slideshow,
RPG. Come
depending
on.
your calm. Then, during E3 2015, Todd made the bold claim that Fallout 4 just worked.
All of this just works. It works. It actually works perfectly.
And he would of course go on to continue the trend at E3 last year.
It just
Fallout
works.
76.
You can play this solo. You'll be who you want. You'll never even see a server when you play.
Disconnected from server.
Some argue that Todd's long list of
Yikes.
lies over the years were features that were going to be in the game, but
I mean, Bethesda, they've made RPG games. Of course there was going to be server problems. And what are they going to say? Hey, we're going to launch this game and it's going to have server problems. I don't know. That game was a mess from what I've heard. I still haven't played it. I'd actually kind of like to give it a try now. It sounds like it's a lot better. I feel like giving them a hard time over server problems is... I mean, it was Bethesda. They're an RPG maker. I'm not that surprised they had server problems.
couldn't.
I feel like another thing, criticizing his words. I think since Bethesda is such a big brand, and people are diehard about Fallout and diehard about Elder Scrolls, that, in the same way people were really hyped over No Man's Sky and what Sean Murray was saying, people are just picking apart everything he says because they're just so excited about all the info, and then they get their hopes up. So I mean, not to justify him misleading his audience, but I feel like a lot of other developers probably do that and don't get as much flack as Todd Howard does.
And things were looking pretty good. It didn't just sell well either. Oblivion was pretty much
It
praised
just
by critics
worked.
across the board. But anyway, the game sold well and people liked it.
It's
But then
2006.
everything changed. Just a month after launch, they released something for $2.50. Something so small, something so trivial that they
Oh
wouldn't hear
god,
the end of
it's
it
a
for years to
horse.
come.
No.
A few pieces of armor for your in-game horse.
Okay, never mind.
The armor didn't even protect the horse, it just made it look a bit cooler. Making DLC like this at the time wasn't very common, especially for a game as big as
That's
Oblivion,
interesting.
and people were not happy. They
Oh
also
boy.
forgot to cut out some voiceover mistakes in Oblivion.
I heard that thieves broke into the Arcane University, the Imperial Legion compound, and the temple all on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again.
That's really funny.
That and the characters swapping voices halfway through their dialogue.
I could be banished for
Are you serious? Wait a second. Let me do that one more time. How does that slip through the cracks of quality assurance? Come on.
Bugs are a consistent feature of Bethesda's games, and many people in turn blame the engine the games run on. As of 2019, Bethesda's games run on an engine that's core is now actually old enough to drink, as pointed out by a gent in one of my comment sections. I've looked into the whole game engine argument, and the common consensus is that the age of an engine isn't necessarily a problem, providing you've got a team of software engineers who can efficiently update and optimize it. I mean,
apparently they have updated their engine too, because there's like rumors about Starfield coming out in 2021. And they were saying it's like their biggest engine update, I think, since either Oblivion or Morrowind.
Rockstar's game engine for GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2 is a heavily upgraded version of an engine that was used for their 2006 ping pong game. The engine's still perfectly capable. That's right, this game right here is running on an engine from this game here. Well, how the f*** do you explain this shit, Todd? Judging by their last two games, some see it as the games being...
I feel like bugs is like a pretty like legitimate criticism of Bethesda though. I haven't even played that many Bethesda games, and I mean I know that they have a reputation for making really buggy games. I feel like though to criticize them over bugs, I mean for Fallout 76 it seemed like it was game breaking. But for the other games, it seems more like stupid stuff. I think that kind of misses the point. I feel like Bethesda's popular for the IPs it owns, which is the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, which even if the games aren't perfect, like people still love the games. And I feel like that's what really matters.
Streamlining. Whichever way you look at it, you can't really argue that Todd hasn't been flushing away features for the last 14 years. A good example of this is the development of Fallout's progression system. Fallout 3's progression had depth, and was pretty consistent to the original two Fallouts, including the special attributes, skills, and perks. Then for Bethesda's next Fallout, Todd went with the less is more approach and thought, let's integrate skills and perks into the special attribute table. For Fallout 76, Todd just said, you know what, just give them a pack of cards. Okay. Compared to the older Fallout.
Yeah, I mean, Fallout 76 is a multiplayer game, though. Like, it's not Fallout 5, so...
Fallout 4 also had...
I don't know if that's like a perfect comparison.
So much so that two of the most... Although we all paint him as the villain, Todd isn't really the one who pulls the strings. The real decisions are made by the people at ZeniMax Media, who are the parent company of Bethesda Softworks, who are the parent company of Bethesda Game Studios. Ever since ZeniMax was set up in 1999, it's been caught up in a number of lawsuits, many of them quite questionable. For starters, Bethesda Softworks started out in the 80s developing sports games, with a game called Gridiron in 1986.
I just found out about this, like a couple of weeks ago. Like, who would have thought that Bethesda, which literally only makes RPGs, started as a sports game company?
Being the game the company was built on. One of the key players
Before
behind
EA,
the early
I guess.
Bethesda games was a guy called Chris. And then there was Bethesda's contract with Obsidian Entertainment for Fallout New Vegas. After the immediate success of Fallout 3, Bethesda wanted to capitalize on another Fallout release. They licensed Obsidian, a development team comprised of ex-Fallout 1 and 2 developers, to create a spin-off Fallout on Bethesda's flawless game engine. Obsidian were then given 18 short months to develop the game. They were paid up front by Bethesda for the development and signed a contract that meant they only receive royalties on the game if it reached a score of 85 on Metacritic. New Vegas fell short of the royalty requirement by 1 point,
Are you kidding
84, me? And thus no royalties were sent their way. That, coupled with Microsoft cancelling...
That's kind of screwed up, especially with what I've heard about Metacritic before too, and the way they rate things and how they weight like review scores. Like, I don't think that it's just like IGN gets more weight than some random small website. So I feel like that's kind of screwed up to have a contract be based off a Metacritic score.
battling a 7-month deep project with them ultimately resulted in 20 to 30 layoffs.
Although it probably is generally right, but I mean, it's still kind of messed up.
They threatened Mojang with a lawsuit in 2012 due to Mojang naming a game as Scrolls. And more recently, a small indie developer had problems because...
Wait. They threatened a lawsuit on Mojang because of using the name Scrolls. That's such a general word. I don't know how you can...
And more recently, a small indie developer had
threaten a
problems
lawsuit
because their game was titled Pray for the Gods. In both cases, the names had to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, even if that lawsuit wouldn't get held up in court, like, that's kind of messed up. Like, because if it's a smaller company like Mojang would have been in 2012 or whatever he said, like, they're not going to want to have to deal with all, like, legal fees and stuff.
But Bethesda will learn from this though, right? How can they not learn from this whole thing? Well, if recent events are anything to go by, it doesn't look like they have much interest in putting out the flames currently engulfing their public relations. And if Fallout First is anything to go by, it looks like they're actually having a good time making it worse. But the hopeful fans of this very confused company will continue to watch from the sidelines as they run about rapidly, throwing atomic shop sales and dodgy bug patches around until the next groundwork is finally revealed, with one man and one man alone, knowing whether it will be worthwhile or just another big fat lie.
Interesting video. Very interesting video. I don't know if I agree with everything he said. There was definitely some good points. Definitely stuff I agree with. But a lot of it was him being kind of extreme, I thought. Because, like, on one hand, it seemed like he was going for, like Fallout, or, like, Bethesda wasn't, like, God-tier developer. But then in the other hand, he's, like, trying to say, like, they're kind of, like, trash. It's kind of like the vibe I was getting. I know plenty of people who have loved Oblivion, who have loved Morrowind, who've loved Fallout 3, Skyrim. So, I mean, even if their games are buggy, I don't know if I would say that they're trash. But are they a god-tier developer? Probably not. Probably not. But also you gotta keep into account, like, they were the only... Like, they were reliant, like they weren't owned by, like, Microsoft or anybody then. So, that could change things now, like, going forward. Like, that'll definitely be interesting to see, like, how that affects, you know, things. Because they probably released a game like Fallout 76 because they needed something to make money. Like, something that would last a while, which then it was absolute crap. I don't know, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out with Microsoft, though.